Welcome you to Earl Stewart on Cars, a live talk show all about how to buy, lease, maintain, or repair your car without being ripped off by a car dealer. With me in the studio is Nancy Stewart, my wife, co-host, and a strong consumer advocate, especially for our female listeners. We also have Rick Kearney, an expert on how to keep your car running right. I dare you to ask a question that Rick can't answer about the mechanics or electronics of your car. Also with us is my son, Stu Stewart, our link to cyberspace through Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Periscope. Stu is also the Spymaster Director of our Mystery Shopping Report. He dispatches our secret shopper weekly to an unsuspecting South Florida dealership. And now, on with the show. Good morning, everybody. We're back. Live in living color right here at the studio. And we're going to talk to you about how not to get ripped off by a car dealer. In my introduction, you heard about all the folks in the studio here. We've got a wealth of knowledge here. I guess I've never added it up, probably over 100 years worth of automotive retail knowledge. And we've got the type of knowledge that you need on a regular basis, which is how to repair, maintain your car without being taken advantage of. We got Rick Kearney, and he is extremely knowledgeable on, I hate to use the word mechanic. I say the mechanics of the car. It's no longer mechanics. It's electronics, and it's digital. It's like everything else in the 21st century. Pretty complex, and a lot of this COVID thing is creating an atmosphere of, I don't want to take my car into the garage. I don't want to go into the dealership. I don't want to go into the independent service department, but I got this clicking, I got this noise. Rick is the guy to call, Rick Kearney. And you can call them at 877-960-9960. By the way, this show is going to be slanted a little bit more than normal to our female listeners. And I know you're out there, but we're getting a little bit worried because we haven't heard from you in a couple of weeks. And it's interesting. We were at about 50% for a long time. And something's happened. We're not sure what it is. Hope it's not our fault. But we love to hear from you female listeners. And I'm going to turn the mic over to Nancy Stewart, my co-host, in just a second. And we're going to tell you again how much we'd appreciate your calls. It isn't it's not an ego thing with us. We're not trying to, have a politically correct audience. All we want to do is be sure we reach everyone in the audience that needs advice. Now, there's some surveys out there that say that men need advice more than women. They say that women take their time more, they do their research more, they don't tend to buy on emotion. Men tend to buy, hey, I like that hot-looking red convertible, and they jump in there and they sign on the dotted line and they drive home. Women don't do that. Women take much longer to buy and they study more. So possibly, since you don't need our advice, and whatever the reason, the change bothered us a little bit, so please consider calling. If you have an issue with your car about getting it fixed, for example, that's the reason I gave Rick Kearney's name and number, 877-960-9960, 877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. That's 772-497-6530. We have an anonymous feedback line that I don't think anybody has. We're kind of unique in that. It's really cool. You go to youranonymousfeedback.com and you can message us and say anything you want to. We cannot learn your identity. We don't know where you're from, who you are. We don't know numbers, telephone, email. We know nothing. We just know your question. If you choose to give us your name, which, even though it's anonymous, you could do that, but we certainly don't ask you to. And if you feel a little bit embarrassed about a question, some people just don't like to ask a question because they're afraid they'll sound stupid. And the bottom line is, every time we get a question that you might feel was stupid, there's probably 1,000 people out there say, well, I'm glad they asked that question. But if you feel nervous about asking a question, youranonymousfeedback.com, and especially directed on this show today, we're especially directing this to our female listeners. And we have a female mystery shopper, and we brought the female mystery shopper. Her code name is Agent Lightning. In fact, she did the mystery shop that we'll be talking about in the second half of the show. So Agent Lightning is giving a whole new idea of what happens to the average shopper. The average shopper is half female and half male. You have 50% buying cars, male, and 50% female. So Agent Lightning is seeing life and buying and servicing your car from the female perspective. So we're trying to put that spin on it. And again, if you're a female, if you're out there, consider calling the show with any comments you might have. Let me turn the show over to my co-host Nancy Stewart, and she has a segment that she is going to play, a recorded segment that she'll cue Mike in the control room to play. It's about 60 seconds. It's a little dialogue between her and the caller, which sets the tone of the type of calls that would be interesting if you felt like making them or would make them to the show. So I'll turn the mic over to Nancy Stewart.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Earl Stewart on Cars. We're here to have a great time with all of you, and I always let everybody know every week, because it's important, that you are a big part of the show, and we really appreciate all your feedback. I'm going to get right to it, and first of all, I want to congratulate the Miami Marlins. Can you imagine hiring the first female general manager? Wow, the world is definitely changing. Women are definitely getting involved. So that takes me to my topic, and I'm always interested in a shopping experience that the ladies may have had, whether it's negative or it's positive. And every week we offer the ladies $50, the first two new lady callers to the show. Give us a call with your experience, or if you just want to say hi, we would definitely appreciate it. $50 for the first two new lady callers. And that telephone number is 877-960-9960. And if you'd like to text us this morning, you can do so at 772-497-6530. And as Earl said, I do have, it's a video that we're going to play in just a moment. And, there are so many ladies that I speak to. Let me retract so many ladies. Let me say a handful that are still being taken advantage of, and even some guys out there. But they're just embarrassed. They're really embarrassed to share their story. And I want to emphasize that you don't necessarily have to, identify yourself. We do have www.youranonymousfeedback.com, and you can just pour your heart out to me, and you'd be helping so many other consumers. So with that said, I'm going to ask Mike to go ahead and roll that video. We're going to Lori, who is calling us from Tamarack. Welcome to the show, Lori.
The reason I'm calling, what Nancy was saying about females going to dealerships, I am not an expert on cars. I never claimed to be, but I have a general idea as to what to ask, what to look for, or whatever. Many, many years ago, I went into a dealership. My brother-in-law had a deal for me on a car. Can't take you to the dealership right now. He was working. Why don't you go in and just, try the car out and see, and if you like it, I can get you a deal on it. I went into a dealership, and I said, I'd like to, see the car. I'd like to test drive it. You know what they said to me? Well, unless you're going to buy today, you can't test drive it. I said, excuse me? And they said, no, it wasn't a rainy day. It wasn't a busy day. It wasn't a holiday weekend. The guy would not let me test drive the bloody car unless I was going to say I would buy it that day. So I said, okay. To let you know, every time I go by that dealership, I hear it advertised. Let's just say I say a few curse words. I will never deal with anybody in that area for that dealership. Not to mention, I've told other people about that dealership not to even go there.
Is this familiar? It has happened so many times, and therefore it was worthy of mentioning this morning, just to remind you why we here at Earl Stewart on Cars is encouraging everyone to give us a call and share their stories with us. As I said, if you don't want to identify yourself, youranonymousfeedback.com. And in this climate today, in this 21st century, unfortunately, there are still those dinosaurs out there that are working in the boys' club, and you may get taken advantage of and not want to share it because you're embarrassed. Well, we have a way for you to do just that, men and women. www.youranonymousfeedback.com. And don't forget, $50 for the first 2 new lady callers, in addition to sharing your story. Well, I'll mention this later on in the show, just to remind everybody. But right now, we are going to go to Howard, who's on line 1. Good morning, Howard. Howard calls us from Jupiter.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
We're well,
Very good.
thank you.
Good. Okay. I just was reading something about the metal fragments from an exploding airbag inflator. It killed the driver of an older Volvo. So this article was saying it's not a Takata airbag. It's a ZF-TRW airbag. And the inflator rupture caused the death of this guy driving a Volvo S60. And Volvo said it will replace the driver's airbag at no cost to customers. So I thought it was just a Takata airbag. Now, Volvo has nothing to do with Takata, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, there's a connection.
I read that too. And it surprised me just like it surprised you. I didn't know that there was other airbags out there that were doing the same thing. The article, I think, said that it had the same symptoms,
Yeah, there's a suit in California on this thing.
Yeah.
It's a German airbag.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the story. I was driving a 98 Toyota Camry, and on the visor it said, you must inspect the airbag after 10 years. I'm sure. I remember that vividly. So now if the airbag is more than 10 years old, I think all of them are not safe. What do you say to that?
I think we discussed this on the show before, and I'm really glad you brought that up. It is I think it's a dangerous crack in the system that there isn't some rule on that. And I believe, Rick shaking his head, I think that, if I come in and I've got a car and I say, I've had this car 10 years, please inspect my airbag, what will we do?
Well, the only thing that we could do is hook up a scan tool, see if there are any codes, and otherwise just a visual inspection. And even then, you can't even see the airbag without disassembling the dash.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And if there were an issue with the airbag, there would be a sensor that would warn you, and we would then check it. Yeah, hopefully. Well, but so the question is, what do you do? At what point? Is it 10 years, 5 years, 20 years? There isn't any industrial guide as far as I know, and I should know. I'm an automobile dealer, and if I don't know, shame on me. But yeah, another glitch in the system. When you buy an old car, a lot of people are buying older and older cars, mainly because they're more and more reliable, and you can buy a car now with 200,000 miles on it, and it can be a great car, and you can keep it for another 200,000 miles if you take good care of it. But that car might be 20 years old by the time you sell it or scrap it or whatever you're going to do. And what's the airbag like? It's an industry glitch in the system.
Well, not to mention also the fact that we mostly concentrate on that passenger front airbag.
Yeah.
There's also a driver's airbag.
Of course, yeah.
Airbags in the seats, curtain airbags that come down on the side,
Yeah.
airbags for your knees.
Has there been any research, like the studying, just at least to have some sort of a label on a car that says this can expect to have a 15-year shelf life or a 10-year life?
No.
Yeah, I mean, they should have some research just so we would know.
Howard, you just hit on another serious problem, and people just kind of ignore it. What does happen a lot of times with cars with defective airbags, they get exported. And we have rules in this country. You have to have an airbag, an operating airbag, or you can't sell the car. It's illegal. It's just like we have crash rules in terms of this fender, this hood, this bumper must qualify for the crash test. If you're going to South America or the Middle East or a lot of other places, you can export a car and get a lot more money for it there than you can in the USA. That'll cover your shipping costs and then some.
Okay, I have a question for Rick. Rick, if I brought in a 1998 Camry to you, and I said to you, please unhook the airbag, would you do that? Because it's safer without the airbag than with the airbag. What would you say to that?
I would put you in my service manager's office, and I would let him make the call on that, because due to the liability issues of it, I personally would not do it.
Oh, yeah, the answer is
because of the liability.
Yeah, it's illegal. You can't do that, and we can't even adjust a seat. I mean, you're violating the National Highway Traffic Safety Association rules if you modify a seat, because it's part of the safety equation in a car. And if there's anything at the head of the safety equation, it's the airbag. So the only thing you can do is, if you have a passenger side, you could just don't have anybody ride in the passenger seat, have them ride in the back seat. But if you have if you request someone to take it out, you would probably have to take it to a outlaw shop somewhere to do it.
Yeah.
Good information. Okay, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, Howard. Always interesting calls. Thank you.
Thanks, Howard.
Bye.
877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. And again, www.youranonymousfeedback.com. Take advantage of it. Say whatever you want. Now back to the recovering car dealer.
Well, we haven't talked to Stu about his function. Stu Stewart, my son, and general manager of our dealership. He's our cyber spy master, and he is in charge of our secret agent, Lightning and Thunder. And I got an idea.
We got to get Thunder back in the game.
Yeah, we got to get Thunder in. Why don't you give him a little preview? I think the Mystery Shopping Report is probably the most listened to, watched, whatever you want to do, part of the show.
Yeah.
And it's at the end of the show, and some people miss it. So give them a synopsis of our, without letting too many of the exciting parts.
I won't, because I'm so excited to talk about this one, because we've had the last 4 weeks we had a methodology in our mystery shopping reports. We just let Agent Lightning go in and just let the flow occur. Just get swept away by the sales process and see what happens. In the past, we would check out advertisements, and those are usually a little bit more exciting because there's this trick. There's a device we're trying to uncover. And I got really excited because we're flipping through the ads this week, and we saw one of those really big discounts. So it was a $10,000 off a new Chevy. And by the way, the shopping target this week was Roger Dean Chevrolet in West Palm Beach, and they've been around forever. And I think you were friends with Roger, weren't you, at some point?
Yeah, he tried to get me to marry his daughter when I first started the business.
Oh, Patty? Is that who was Patty Dean?
I can't remember which one. He had $2, but he was trying to hook me up with his daughter. I had to explain to him I was already married.
I'm glad, because that would have really had a big effect on my life. But really big discount, and normally we look at these things like, okay, you see a big $10,000 off. They're talking about it's going to be off a F-350 truck, some like $100,000 vehicle, but this was off a $22,000 car, so it's practically half off. So when I saw that, I'm like, we got to send Lightning into that. So we're not going to reveal what happens. You could probably predict that she was not able to buy the car at the ad price, but it's still really interesting to see how it's explained and how they get out of the promise in the ad.
Yeah, it's nice to get. It's a great contrast. We did Infinity of Stewart last week.
Yeah,
and that was a refreshing. What was the average score? B.
B plus.
B plus.
Yeah.
I mean, just an extraordinarily clean, honest, transparent experience. And I can only say that this one was, you might say, the other end of the spectrum.
Oh, yeah, I hope Linda's listening. Because if Linda's listening, I know we're going to be entertained by her grade.
Truly old school. In a way, it's interesting to me because I see, if that had happened 30 years ago, it would be SOP.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, in fact, Roger Dean Chevrolet, I don't want to slander anybody, but there were comments when Roger Dean Chevrolet opened up many years ago. Roger Dean, I believe, started in Ohio, and he had a little problem, I think, reported to have a problem with the Attorney General in Ohio. And so he left and started back in business down here. And then he wasn't really a rough dealer. He was he spawned many other dealerships by taking in partners. And but one of the things that sticks in, if you've been around town for a long time, was a great, we had the Leaky TP, the West Palm Beach Auditorium. Mm-hmm. How many of you remember that? Yeah. And they had a giant sale, which dealers didn't have at that time. And Roger Dean rented the entire West Palm Beach Auditorium, and he had a big sale there, and he advertised in the Palm Beach Post, which was the only advertising venue there. Might have done some TV, but it was a long time ago. 50% off.
Yeah.
We're selling these cars at 50% off. And because at that time it was unique and it was extraordinary, and nobody had ever heard that before, and today it wouldn't even,
Is he still
blink an eye. But then everybody gets excited. So thousands of people rushed in. The police came, and there was almost like a riot. They were directing traffic, and they had to stop the sale, and he had to swear never to do it again. And I forgot all the ramifications, but he was a what's the word? I can't use the word. I have it in my mind.
Wildcat.
He was
That's a good one. He was a wildcat.
You're going to get dumped.
Is he still advertising in the paper?
I looked deliberately in the paper this morning. He wasn't in the Palm Beach Post, I don't think, but usually he is.
Yeah.
Once a week. Old school.
He can't drop that habit. Last time we mystery shopped him back in February, they had a $17,000 off. But that was off a big Silverado truck.
Yeah. And now Roger Dean Stadium. I mean, respectability, and he's evolved. And,
well, it's funny when we talk about our dealers. You think of Napleton, Grieco, and all that as the bad guys. Roger Dean, he seems like one of the good guys. But
he got after that auditorium sale. I think he got frightened into a little bit more transparency.
Yeah.
I think we were a little bit frightened about 30 years ago out on Okeechobee Boulevard, and we were selling cars. I think, what was it, $1 or something, or
we had,
buy one get one free.
Yeah, a liquidation lot and Stuart Select Cars. Yeah.
I don't know. Hey Stu, there was one thing that was missing from the mystery shopping report.
What's that?
Polyester suits.
We don't know that. We got to ask Lightning. She didn't report on what they're wearing, other than whether they were wearing a face mask or not.
We went back in time with this mystery shopping report.
Well, stay tuned. It'll be in the second half of the show, and it will be an exciting report.
They were wearing white shoes, though, with gold buckles.
Oh, were they?
No, I'm just kidding.
Interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, I was talking earlier about a call, and we shared it on the air, about a female that had, a young lady that had called me. And I want to remind you that if you didn't catch that portion of the show, we're recording, and you can go to www.youtube.com, Earl on Cars, or our podcast, Stitcher Radio, or Apple Podcast. 877-960-9960, or text us at 772-497-6530. Don't forget, youranonymousfeedback.com. And we are going to go to Dave in Palm Beach Gardens. Good morning, Dave.
Yes, good morning. I had a question for you, and I think you may have addressed this once before, but it's about the Highlander white paint job, and something about the finish on it, or something that was raising questions about that particular color, and maybe you shouldn't buy a Highlander in white, and I think you did address it, but I cannot remember what the outcome of that conversation was. Can you update that?
Well, Dave, there are several models that have been identified by Toyota, and other manufacturers have these paint issues too. Unfortunately, the warranty is only 3 years or 36 months on most cars on the paint finish, which is a crime. It should be better. And then sometimes you have to battle them because of a lot of things are not covered by environmental fallout and things like that. But on your question of white is a chronic problem with some Toyotas. In fact, they're talking about expanding the models, and they know they have problems in some other models. Rick, Stu, help me out on Prius hasn't been included yet, but it may be included.
Neither is Highlander yet.
Yeah.
These are a little bit older models, and what they did, they extended the warranty to 14 years from the original 3.
Yeah.
But they are adding different paint colors and different models to it. It's way too soon to tell if they're going to have the same problem on a current model. These are cars that are going back a few years.
Well, we found out from our own personal experience that they are having problems on other models, and we believe Prius will be coming in.
Oh, we knew that was in
Yeah.
other models and also in other colors. Even blues and reds might get included into this extended warranty thing. I'm saying the more recent vehicles haven't been affected yet.
Yeah, if you have the problem, then you can still file the complaint with the dealer. The dealer can take it to the manufacturer, and there's a good chance that you have it covered. So just because you don't see anything online about a paint problem on a particular model you're driving, or your model or color, if you have something, we call it, the problem is called delamination, and the paint actually peels off. And the way we test it, and the way car dealers are supposed to test it, is you take some tape, like duct tape or masking tape.
It's like masking tape.
Masking tape, and you put it on the horizontal surfaces of the car, the roof, the fender, the hood, the deck lid. These are the ones that are getting the most direct ultraviolet rays from the sun. Leave it on for about 10 minutes, then peel it off. If the paint comes with it, you got a problem. I don't need to tell you that. Bring it to the dealer, and say, look, I bought this car 4 years ago, and I got some tape on the car, and I pulled it off, and they'll call the manufacturer, and there's a good chance they'll take care of it for you.
Great tip. Wow. Masking
Okay,
tape.
so if let me just follow up real quick, and let's say you've got a used Highlander on your lot for sale.
Yeah.
I purchased that vehicle, and would you, before I purchased it, would you be able to perform that test to know, to give me confidence as a consumer that I would be purchasing a vehicle that was not problematic in that respect? And then if it was okay, and I did buy it, and then something happens a year down the road, and all of a sudden it becomes a situation that becomes, if I perform that same test and the paint started to peel or whatever, could I bring that back to Earl Store Toyota for you to address that in a way that solves that problem, whether it be a new paint job or whatever would be available at the time?
No, the problem with that is that the Highlander isn't covered under this campaign at all right now. Now, it could in the future, so it would be kind of a risky move to try and rip off paint and then have no ability to have Toyota pay for it.
Again, this is speculative on my part to some extent, but I know the manufacturers, I know Toyota especially well, but if you have a defective paint on a relatively late model car, I'm not talking about a 2000 car, 20 years old, but if you have a car that's out of warranty and you were to perform the tape test and the paint peeled, there's a very good chance you would get help from the manufacturer to have that paint repaired, even though it wasn't named. We know, for example, now that we're experiencing complaints on the Prius, the white Prius, but it's not covered yet.
Yeah. The other thing with the tape test, it's not applied. It's only applied on an area that looks like there's some peeling or bubbling. You can see that there's something going wrong, and then they want to see if that paint comes off. If the car looks fine, no one's putting tape on the car and trying to see if the paint. Usually you'll start to see a bubbling, some indication that something's going wrong, and then the tape test will reveal that it's extensive.
Well, again, I hate to disagree with my son on live radio, but I think if you have a concern and you put a piece of tape on the car, and you leave it on every 10 minutes and pull it off, and you have someone witness that, and the paint comes off, then I think you should actually be covered by the manufacturer. Rick?
Video record it.
Yeah.
Have your phone out and record video when you're doing that test.
Yeah.
That way you've got proof that,
Dave's
it was
question
done.
if he's buying the car. If you're buying the car, then ask that be done as a condition of buying the car. And if it's clean and everything's okay, then you'll be satisfied.
I still maintain my position that you're possibly damaging the car. So if you apply tape, it's not the proper tape. I guess if you have the body shop do it the way they do it, but if you rip the paint off the car, you might be risking.
We're talking about masking tape. Yeah.
Let me ask you this: does the weather affect this test? Do you have to have your car in the garage, out of the sun, whatever? Does that affect it?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Well, Dave, I hope we didn't confuse you. I'm confused now, but.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you addressing that problem. And, I noticed you had a couple of very nice white ones on the lot, actually, as I was online.
Yeah.
And, one thing that immediately pops into a consumer's mind when they're looking at a vehicle with very low mileage, and it's a very late model, and it's beautiful, you say, why would someone get rid of that car when it's not a lease period that has expired?
Yeah.
It's very low mileage. It looks beautiful. And it's even way lower than a normal annual rate of miles to be put on a vehicle.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you just have to ask yourself, why would someone do that when you have to invest X amount of dollars to begin with?
Yeah.
And then when you trade, you're never going to, come out on top in that respect. So it's just, I don't, do the salesman know anything about the story about the vehicle that you may be interested in?
Sure, that's a great question, and you should always ask to speak to the previous owner. You should do a Carfax report, and the one thing I recommend, I don't care how late model a car is, always have it checked out by an independent mechanic. It's just the older the car, the more important that is. But you say a late model car, why do they trade it in? I'd want an answer to that. The best way to get the answer is call the previous owner. You could ask the salesman, but you might not get an accurate answer. But used cars are a great value, but you got to do your homework. You got to do the Carfax reports. You got to have an independent mechanic check it out. You can see the previous repair history on Carfax. Now, it used to be it was just damage to a car, but now you can actually see the repair maintenance history. Rick?
If you write down the VIN, the vehicle identification number, and go to the manufacturer of that car, a dealership for that model, quite often they can run a service history and tell you, this car was very well maintained, and it gets much more in depth to show you what parts were put in.
That's a great idea.
What services were done.
That's a great idea. With right now, the manufacturers, when they repair a car, the VIN number goes into the database for every Ford in the United States, and as long as they take it into a Ford dealer for their maintenance, it'll appear in the database. So there are a lot of ways you can check on the history of a used car, and you should take a lot longer checking out a used car than a new car, obviously.
Okay, well, how would one get in touch with the previous owner that was, say, on your lot for sale? You might be very interested, but you had some questions.
Well, you can't always do that, but the dealer should tell you, and then the dealer probably would respectfully check with the previous owner.
Right, you would just ask the salesperson, and they can find out, and they can call them on your behalf and see if it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, great, that makes sense.
Well,
I appreciate.
You're a very careful guy, and you're a very smart guy. I wish more people thought like you before they bought a used car. It wouldn't be nearly as much trouble out there afterwards. So you're thinking right.
Well, I remember you saying at one point that you really don't need to be that concerned about buying a used vehicle. As a matter of fact, I think you said you would probably buy a used one as opposed to a new one because of the depreciation, et cetera, et cetera. But the mileage factor of having a used car for sale that on your lot that might have 20, 30, 35,000 miles on it even is not really a big risk or a gamble because of the longevity or the quality of say the engine or the mechanics of the vehicle. So not to really be worried to the extent that you're going to pass that up and have to be forced to go buy a new one and then
right.
suffer.
You're on the right track, Dave. Dave, call again, and thanks so much for that question. A lot of people were thinking the same thing you were. Please call again. I'd love to hear from you.
Great
Appreciate
call.
it. Thanks much.
Thank you, Dave.
Bye-bye.
Great call. We love our educated consumers, the listeners. It's great. And Dave's been listening to the show, obviously, by his conversation. Give us a call toll free at 877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. And, Linda was asking about the pearl white. She thinks that that's the way to go.
Well, it's
these are pearl white that are peeling too.
Yeah.
It looks nicer.
You can't go on basis of the name of the color. It's just the question. We talked before about going to chat rooms, going online. Chances are, if you have a peeling problem, maybe somebody else did. So a lot of it is research and homework and being careful. That's all. And my question is, my point is this: if you have the problem, you've got to ask for help. No one's going to say, I heard you had a problem, I want to paint your car for you. You're going to have to go to the dealership, you're going to have to go to the manufacturer, and you're going to have to be firm. And when you do that, we found in our experience, if you're firm about it, not abusive or confrontational, but firm and show them the proof, then they're going to help you and take care of it. So we don't want to make a bigger problem out of this than it is. Most of the painted cars out there are doing just fine.
Yeah, just reach out. Hey, let's have some fun and talk about an announcement that we made a couple of weeks ago, and that was about Earl's Vigilantes.
Yeah.
Would you like to comment on that?
Well, I'll ask Stu to comment on that. Do we have any more
We've
people?
had a few more. I don't have the website up, but we've expanded our states. Now we have Michigan, we have New Jersey, we have Tennessee. We're starting to build up a backlog here in Florida, but that's only natural because we're based down here. So we have, I think, 5 or 6 in Florida. So we're over a dozen now, but keep them coming. If you're interested in helping out people in your community, go to earlsvigilantes.com and click on the button that says volunteer or I want to help, and just sign up. All we do is we post your name, your email address, and we just ask you to just let us know a little bit about your background and why you think you can help out your local consumers. Somebody just came in the studio. Just kidding. We have an audio thing coming through here.
Something coming from somewhere.
It's a humor. It's making me laugh.
It's our laugh track, because I'm funny. They just thought it was just natural to have a laugh track. But yeah, earlvigilantes.com, sign up today.
Yeah, it sounds real good. You can really help out, other consumers in your community. And there's a lot more educated, and informed people out there that can help out with Earl's Vigilantes. Now, back to the recovering car dealer.
I think we've probably got some text and Facebook and YouTube, don't we?
Yeah, why don't we start with Rick?
Right now, I've got nothing showing up, actually.
Rick, I'm going to have to interrupt you. I see that Jay's been holding from Boynton Beach. Good morning, Jay.
Good morning, guys. I have a simple question. How often should you start your car or drive it? I didn't drive it for 6 days, and I had AAA come out, and they said they'll charge it, but I'd have to drive to Jacksonville to get a full charge. They wanted me to take it to a car place and get my battery charged. And is it better to drive it or just let it sit and run for a half an hour?
Well, Rick can answer that question. He's heard it before.
The best is to actually drive it, because when the car sits, your tires all the weight is sitting on the one spot on the tire, and they'll develop what's called flat spots. So then when you do start driving the car again, you'll get this horrible vibration for a while until that kind of smooths itself out. It will fix itself as the tires heat up. The flat spots will straighten back out. But the best thing is to go out for a nice leisurely drive somewhere, just something that gets you up around 35, 40 miles an hour, and a good half hour, say about every other day if you can, or every 2 or 3 days.
And highway driving is better than city driving.
Yeah, because it's a nice, smooth, easy drive on the highway. It gets the best charge back to the battery, and the engine actually runs a lot smoother, and you get better fuel economy running at that. Now, if you can't do that, if you do have to have the car just kind of sit, I recommend a battery charger called a Trickle Charger. And what this does is it connects to the battery, you plug it into an electrical outlet, and it actually puts just a very small charge into the battery continuously, so your battery never gets run down.
And is it all the electronics that run the battery down?
Yeah, because the computers in the car are still drawing a little bit of power even while the car's off. It's keeping the memory alive for the radio, the computer systems, and the various electronics in the car.
Well, I've been driving from Boynton to the airport around the loop there and then back on 95, so.
That's a good run. Yeah, about every 2 or 3 days I would do that.
And if I keep driving it, will it recharge eventually every day or something, or do I need to bring it into a place and have it charged for like 8 hours?
No, if you get it charged up, from driving, the charge will come back unless there's a problem with the battery. And even if if you were to go somewhere and have it charged, they'd really only need to charge it for about 3 or 4 hours at the most.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. That's very helpful. I'll just start, driving it more.
Yeah, you're very
Thanks,
welcome.
Joe. Good luck.
Bye.
877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530, and we'd love to hear from you from www.youranonymousfeedback.com. Now back to Rick.
We're caught up at the moment for YouTube.
Okay.
I was going to say that Jay's question is another very good question because people are not using their cars as much. And I've, in our household, we don't use our cars as much, and people are just not. So it's a good idea to take it out and exercise your car a couple times a week, and you never know. It could be an emergency. You got to get to the hospital.
Absolutely.
You got to get to the doctor,
Yeah.
and your car won't start.
Yeah.
That's pretty frustrating.
I learned by experience my car was dead, and I just never realized that would happen. And now I do, take advantage of that.
Yeah.
I believe that Stu is ready.
Always.
Excuse me, Stu. Warren is on the phone from Pompano. Good morning, Warren.
Good morning. How are you today?
Great, thank you.
Okay, my question is, it's funny because you were mentioning about the paint job. I met my cousin last night. He's still up in northern New Jersey. I'm coming down right after Thanksgiving. And I don't know whether he got a recall notice or he read about it. I'm not sure about the paint job. And he's got a white Toyota Camry, and he said that he was going to bring it in and they're going to repaint it. It's about 10 years old. But the question I had, if it does come to that, is that it's banged up. And obviously if they repaint it, they're not going to fix the bang-ups on it. What does he do? He just goes to, to somebody to get all the, bangs out of it or whatever, and then they repaint it because they're not going to fix it if they just repaint it. What would he do in that case?
Well, that's probably what he should do. You have to pay, of course, for the hammering the dents out. And but you could still repaint it with the dents, but it wouldn't be the right thing to do. You could have yourself basically a new looking car. You get the dents fixed, and then you get a free paint job, which the paint job normally costs you around $4,000. So it's a great value, even if you have to pay a few $100s to get the dents pounded out.
Oh, okay. And the question is, do you know? Like I said, he lives up here in northern New Jersey. Was it a recall, or you just read about it? Because he asked me last night. He said, well, you listened to that show, and I just wanted to ask you. He said, that they said they're going to. I think Toyota's about 10 years old.
It's not a recall. It's a
warranty extension.
Yeah, it's a notice.
Yeah.
That they send out, and they say to the dealer whether it's a Honda or whatever model's having it. Delamination is the most common problem, meaning the paint just peels, so it's a defect. When they painted the car, they did something wrong.
Technically, it's a customer support program.
Yeah, and you're not going to get your car painted if you have an old car that's faded in the sun after 15 or 20 years. But these cars we're talking about, the good paint that should be good peels off, and the way you test it is with a tape test. You put the masking tape on. When a customer comes into our dealership, we put the masking tape on the area, that would look be most likely to peel, that looks suspicious, and we leave it there for 10 or 15 minutes, and we peel it off. If the paint comes off with a tape, you have a problem. We take this information, we give it to Toyota. Toyota says, go ahead and paint the car, and that's the process.
Well, let me just ask this last question. If he gets the dings and he's got a pretty big bang in the back, on the side, on the fender there, when the guy does it or somebody does it, aren't they going to ask, will we repaint it? Like, what do you tell the person who's going to repair the car? That's all right if you fix it and still the paint comes off. That's the thing that would be puzzling. Like, what do you tell the person who's fixing the dings and the bangs on it?
Well, they're not going to fix the bangs unless you ask them to, and they're going to suggest it.
If he brings it to somebody else, first. In other words, to some, repair place who'll do those things.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
What does he tell the? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be a little bit careful about that because you don't want to have a situation where when they hammer the dent out, they could say, well, you damaged the paint when you hammer the dent out, and
that's what I was asking.
Yeah, I would be sure that I would let the dealership do the dent repair because they're the ones that got the approval, and they're going to vouch for you that we didn't bang the car up. We just did the dent at your request. You paid us for it, and then we painted it under the manufacturer coverage.
Okay, because he asked me about that yesterday, and I sort of gave him the same answer you did.
Yeah.
He said, I don't recommend you going to a second party and bang it out, because then the dealer will say, well, look at the damage.
Yeah, right,
this guy did it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not going to touch it. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jay.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome, Warren. Give us a call again.
Thank you.
877-960-9960. Or you can text us at 772-497-6530. And don't forget www.youranonymousfeedback.com. And ladies, really, if you have something to say and you just want to remain anonymous, you too can take advantage of that. www.youranonymousfeedback.com. And don't forget, I have $50 for the first 2 new lady callers. Now we're going to go to Stu.
We got some interesting information from Eric on Facebook about Roger Dean. We were just talking about Roger Dean earlier in the show. He said a while back, Roger Dean Buick GMC in Fort Pierce was sold to Garber Automotive Group. Also, Wallace Automotive Group purchased the Roger Dean Chevrolet in Stewart. The old dealership was demolished, and Wallace built a new building there. And also, he said, Bev Smith Kia in Fort Pierce told me when I was there for service that my problem with my paint on my 2014 Kia Soul was not covered by any warranty. So it doesn't look like Kia is doing the same thing that Toyota and some of the other manufacturers are.
Yeah, I would say don't trust Bev Smith Kia. Take it to another Kia dealership or even contact Kia directly to be sure. It would be interesting to see or hear the age of the car.
Yeah.
And
it'd also be interesting to know if Bev Smith Kia, and I don't know this, if they have a body shop or a collision repair center there. It might be too much trouble for them to refer this out to a body shop that can handle the paint work.
Excellent point. Let me say this. Great point. Strangely enough, this is insider knowledge. Most people don't know. Most car dealerships today don't have body shops, and it's not as a profitable division as a used car department or service department, and most dealerships just said the heck with it, it's not worth it. So there are still dealerships that have body shops, and if you're going to have a paint problem under warranty or goodwill repaired, okayed by the manufacturer, you're better off to take it to the dealer that does have the body shop simply because they are more expertise in fixing a Honda. You'd have a Honda dealer with a body shop. If you take it to Joe's paint shop, you might not get the job done right, and I think there could be some issues with the manufacturer. They want to be sure that they get what they're paying for. If they're going to give somebody $4,000 to paint your car, they don't want to get a $1,000 paint job. So try to find the dealer that has a certified paint shop, collision center they call them now, body shop.
That's right. Because the guys that don't, they just send them out to another body shop.
Yeah.
And you never know what you're going to get.
And they might not want to be worth the trouble.
Right.
As you're saying, your point was about Beth Smith Kia. They don't want to be bothered because I got all the paperwork. I'm not making money off this. I'd have to tell you, I'd have to send it to a body shop and handle the sublet, and I'm not getting paid for that.
A lot of paperwork.
A lot of paperwork. So,
Yeah.
And
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and back in the day, boy, I'll tell you what, you want to depreciate your car, go ahead over to Joe's and see what happens whenever it's time to trade that car in.
I can report that Bev Smith Kia does have a body shop, so the point in this case is moot.
Okay.
They just, who knows what.
Well, I'd still check with another Kia
Yeah.
dealer. I'd check with Kia. There might be, maybe they just, a lot of things we accuse dealers of doing because they're conniving is just because they're just not informed. And, dealers are not all crooked, and they don't always try to take advantage of you. Sometimes they just give you misinformation because they don't know. And so you go to another dealer, and it's like you go to another doctor. You get a second opinion, you get a third opinion. If you got something expensive like a paint job, get a second or third opinion.
Yep.
Great information. We are going to excuse Sue for a moment, and we're going to go to Palm Beach Gardens, where Mark is holding. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, everyone. Being as paint department is my specialty in my work experience, I just wanted to say a couple of things about Earl's 100% right, especially him being a dealer owner, is that the body shop department is least profitable. And most dealerships that have them today, it's more of a customer service, a service to the customer by having a collision center rather than a profitability department. Second thing, a couple of people talked about having repairs done prior to a warranty paint job. You definitely want to have it done at whoever's doing the paint work. Otherwise, they won't guarantee any work that is over the top of somebody else's repairs.
Good point.
If you go to another repair facility and they fix your dents and your scratches to prep it for a good paint job, as close to factory as it can get, they're going to say, hey, we're not going to cover adhesion to those repairs because of somebody else's primer. They may not have prepped the surface properly or sanded it properly. So they're going to put a top coat over it, but they're going to tell you, hey, our work is not guaranteeable because someone else has done the work. If we do the work, we can stand behind it more so than if someone else does the work. And thirdly, paint delamination. I tuned in, unfortunately, late, right in the middle when you guys were talking about this subject. But, when you go to prove to a factory rep delamination, I would understand Alan and the gang going ahead and proving that with the tape test. But if somebody just does it in their own front yard and gets their neighbor and says, hey, hold the camera.
No.
And they put a piece of tape over the paint and go, hey, let's see if this stuff peels. And then it comes up with the tape.
Yeah.
And then you go into the dealer and say, hey, look, I've got a delamination problem. Well, the factory rep's going to sit back and say, hey,
that
how
was
do
my
I
point.
know?
That's all I was saying.
I agree with you, Stu.
But Earl's point, have the body shop department do it if they say this is something we should do. Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, that's the only way you could do it. Otherwise, the factory rep is going to be super crucial. In my 37 years of dealing with factory reps is they're going to look, and maybe it's different with different manufacturers, but they're going to look for any excuse to try not to cover a problem like that unless, it's within a warranty period or close thereafter. But a 10-year-old vehicle, they're going to try to get out of paying for that every day if they can.
Sure.
So, anyway, those are the three areas that I just wanted to comment. And unfortunately, like I say, I apologize for not getting into the conversation earlier, but I did a little sleeping in. I'm prepping to go into the hospital for a couple of weeks, so I didn't get to tune in until a little bit too late.
Well, you sound good. Are you okay now, Mark?
Well, I got a major infection with my amputee. I'm a double amputee, and I got a infection in my system that's attacking my amputations. So I got to go in for therapy, but it could be a week, it could be a month. So who knows?
Well,
But
good luck. We'll be
I'll still
thinking
be
about you.
talking to you on Saturdays, and I'll still be talking to you at sunrise.
Well,
Y'all
Mark,
have a great day.
yeah, Mark, I want to tell you that you're a man of experience and you're funny. And God bless
Yeah,
you,
thank you.
with your procedures. And please give us a
I've
call
al-
again. And thank you for joining us on the International
certainly will.
Sunrise.
Yeah, I'm glad to be one of the vigilantes. But, hey, in today's world, if you can't smile, you got a problem. So have a good day.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
I think we better get back to Stu immediately.
Well, before we get, I'm going to get Anne Marie's text. Anne Marie texted in, but I thought this was kind of funny. I don't know if Earl can see his background. It says, Earl, your background is pretty spooky. I'm worried that the headless horseman is going to sneak up on you.
I can't see the background, so I don't know what's going on.
It's all green. No, it's just some wintry looking roads, some
okay.
trees, little misty. I always get it. I think it's the same person who keeps commenting on the background.
I love those autumn leaves.
I would like a Wild Wild West background. Can we do that?
John can put anything behind you. Be careful.
I want to be, yeah.
All right. Okay, let's jump over to Anne Marie's text. Good morning. Dealerships are the hallmark of American automotive industry. Customers can buy and get their vehicles maintained at a dealer. If a Toyota, Ford, Chevy, Volkswagen, Honda, etc. has a recall, the vehicle's owner can just bring it to the dealer, assuming the parts are available, and get the vehicle fixed. Tesla has a different business model. They have showrooms rather than the usual dealership. Their cars are gorgeous, but they are machines, and machines can develop problems. I can't help but wonder what would a Tesla owner do if Tesla had a recall? Where and how would it get fixed? Just wondering, and that's Anne Marie.
Well, they do have a network of dealerships, and there's one on what is it, Blue Heron Boulevard, or we've been by there. They have a showroom in the Gardens Mall, Gardens Mall. So they are available, and. I think they've got it pretty much covered.
I think if there's a problem, there is a pickup and delivery. They will give you a loaner to use, and they take the car back, ship it back to the plant for repairs. But like Anne Marie said, there's a lot less that can go wrong on a Tesla. A lot of the problems they would have would be software related, and a lot of those things would be delivered over the air.
Well, if the dealership on Blue Heron Boulevard, I might have that. It's in that area.
I think it's just a service area.
They have a service department, so they fix it. Right?
Yeah. I just don't know how widespread those are.
Yeah.
Okay, Robert, do we have a call?
We do.
Okay.
We have a call from Palm City, and that's John,
Hey.
a regular caller. Good morning, John.
Good morning to everyone. I want to speak about off-road vehicles that people can use every day. They're on a tremendous increase. Before we know, number one is the Jeep Wrangler, and then Ford announced the Bronco in July, and so far they have 165,000 deposits. They said they'll sell 200,000 next year.
Wow.
And it's an amazing vehicle for one reason. You can take off, if it's a 2-door or 4-door, you can totally remove the doors. You can even take the roof off.
Oh, wow.
And and Land Rover now came back now after 23 years, the Defender that's returning with them. And you've seen the new ads. It's crazy. It's probably 100,000 plus for the new Hummer. Crazy. 1,000 horsepower. The GMC is spending so much money. You see it all over TV, the ads for that. But, boy, that sure must be an expensive vehicle. So they seem to be a tremendous increase demand for these off-road vehicles. I live in western Mon County, and there's 2 or 3 acres that people have and land where they can use them, especially if they go to Okeechobee. But it's a tremendous increase on these off-road vehicles, and I think one of the hottest announcements is Ford coming back with the Bronco, and the basic price on the Bronco was $28,000. So just by the amount of deposits they have on the car, it looks like it's a winner.
John, I think a lot of those off-road vehicles are popular because they look cool. I have a feeling that most of them are never driven off-road, and it's kind of like a pickup truck. You know, when you're going down the road, how often do you see anything in the back of a pickup truck? People buy cars for emotional reasons and because they look good in the cars. And, of course, I don't drive off-road, so if they're out there, I don't see them. But
How do you know what's going on?
is anybody
every once in a while he
anybody
does.
out there with an off-road vehicle? Call the show and let us know if you've ever driven it off-road.
Well, I can speak to that, and I'm sure Rick can. Our sales manager, Jason Lady, he has a 4x4 Tacoma,
Oh,
and
exactly.
that's part of his weekend recreation. He takes it out to these muddy areas and just has a lot of fun.
But I think that's the exception. I just don't think.
I don't know.
most
There's
people-
a whole. I'm telling you, there's a whole community out there.
Yeah, maybe
Rick
I'm-
probably doesn't do
I
it.
agree with you. I see them running around, but they're always clean.
Yeah.
So how much could they be using them off road?
Well, it's like a
And
boater. You know, you
related to
take
that, I
your
wanna
boat out of
talk
the water,
about-
you hose it down. You do the same thing with your truck.
Right. The SUVs, which you see in your sales department, I mean, even the municipalities a couple of years ago got smart, and for the police cars, they buy nothing but the SUVs instead of regular four-door sedans, and probably because of the resale. I mean, myself, I wouldn't really buy a used police SUV, although on the Florida title, they have to show that it was used as a taxi cab or a police car.
Yeah.
But I just can't see, even though it's cheaper, a car that was run so hard. Some of them round the clock will run 24 hours, and they do appear on. You'll see them on used car lots. Usually, you can tell them because they have the different brakes on them, and they're not great on gas because they have a more powerful engine. And I just, it's my opinion, even though you can buy them cheaper, I just can't see buying a used SUV that's for only a police car.
Yeah,
Your opinion?
I agree. Depending on the police car, it might be maybe Palm Beach or Jupiter Island police car. Probably not too many high-speed chases.
Who knows?
You're right. It's true. If it's a municipal or town, it's probably better than one that was used like the highway patrol.
Yeah, Los Angeles would be a different story.
One other suggestion, too, on the mystery shopping. It's not that far away. If you go over to Okeechobee, which is northwest of West Palm Beach, there's the dealership. I think most of them are owned by one person. And then you go north of that, Sebring. It looks to me like going to that town. Every car dealer, it's like a Wallace Plus. It's owned by one family.
Yeah.
So if I could just make a suggestion, it's really not that far away to the future if we could have mystery shopping reports for those particular towns, Okeechobee and Sebring.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
What's the dealer over there in Sebring? Jay something?
Jay. Gosh, you got me on that one.
Because I ran for Toyota dealer council, and he eked me out, and I was the alternate.
You know, it's right on the tip of my tongue. And there's been I have talked to so many people up there because I have some relatives up there that have complained about this dealer who has several.
Okay, well, we're going to
Dealerships.
shop him. That's a
Alan
good
J.
idea.
It's
I
Alan
think
J.
he
Alan
owns
J.
every
That's it.
dealership in the town.
That's
Yeah.
it, Alan Jack.
Great idea, John. We'll
Alan, that's him. Yeah,
we'll do
every
that.
car you see running around has his sticker on it, no matter what the brand name
We'll
is.
be there. You don't have to give me an
Okay.
excuse. We need.
Oh, no.
Okay.
He ran against me for
Great.
Dealer of the Year, FADA, Dealer of the Time Dealer Award. That's what it was, yeah. He beat me out. I'm going to get even with him now.
Just keep an eye on the Broncos. It looks like they got a hot number.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Thanks so
Everybody
much, John.
remembers the O.J. Simpson Bronco on the TV.
The world's
How
most
can
famous
we forget
Bronco.
it?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you
Well,
so
if
much.
there's a winner, it's always in Ford.
Thanks so much, John.
Okay, look forward to the shopping report.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. 877-960-9960. And you can text us at 772-497-6530. And we're going to skip right over to Stu.
Okie dokie. Robert in Annapolis, Maryland, who is our one of our vigilantes up in Maryland, says, "Good morning, everyone. With the resurgence of another COVID wave, would it be a best practice for you to turn off the recirculated air on a vehicle's air conditioning on a test drive as an added measure to reduce the spread, or also in shared rides such as Uber and Lyft? Thanks in advance."
I think that's a great idea. What do you think, Rick?
It couldn't hurt.
I mean, especially if you're in the car with a guy with COVID. I think it's great. Matter of fact, I asked my air conditioning guy if I could do that in my home, and apparently auto air conditioners are the only ones that allow you to do that. I think some commercial air conditioners in buildings will allow that. But yeah, bring in fresh air from the outside.
I would encourage you to roll all the windows down and wear masks.
Yes. But I think it's a serious question,
Yeah.
and a serious
surgical
answer would
gloves.
be, yes, it's a good idea to recirculate.
Yeah. This is another text here. It says, Rick, I have a brand new 2020 Honda Passport, and I have had problems with the infotainment system. It periodically shuts down without warning. Everything goes black. Then I get an error message saying service unavailable, and then the system boots back up. Honda dealer can't reproduce the problem, and so far hasn't been able to help me. What are your thoughts, Rick and Earl?
Well, I'll go first because I'm not the technical guy, but I'm a business guy. I go to another Honda dealer, and then I'd go to another Honda dealer until someone can fix it. And then I'd even use the L word, lemon law, and I would suggest that if you can't fix this, you're going to be getting me another car, and of course call Honda directly. But it's just inexcusable when you bring a car to a franchise dealer and you have a serious problem like you just described, and they say they can't help you. That's just that's unacceptable, and you need to get a dealer that knows what he's doing.
I'd look online too. Rick's always suggesting checking out the forums and things like that.
Yeah.
Well,
Online will verify a problem, but it won't tell you how to fix it. And when a dealer says, I can't fix the car that I'm franchised to service and sell, you've got a real problem there.
For me, step number one, set up your phone to record video of that radio.
Great idea.
And so that when it occurs, because obviously it's intermittent, but when it occurs, you've got video evidence of it.
Yeah.
Then you take that to the dealer and say, look, here's what it's doing.
Great idea.
Step number two, I would go online and Google for technical service bulletins for the Honda Passport for any radio issues, which sometimes is just a software update, and they may not be, doing due diligence and checking for those themselves, which they should be. And number three, I would check in the forums to see if someone's had a similar case, and if they have, what was done to fix that one. And of course, like you said, I would definitely check with a different dealership and say, look, I've been having this problem. It's a brand new car. I want it fixed. And remember, polite persistence pays off.
Absolutely. Great advice. We are going to go to Paul, who's giving us a call from Missouri. Good morning, Paul.
Hello. How are y'all doing today?
Great. Welcome.
Oh, I got a question for you. I'm in a position where I'm going to be buying a new Toyota, and I've, for lack of a better word, I've been pretty well. I don't want to say this. I've not had good experiences with cars that I've bought. Paid too much for them, all that kind of thing. And I'm going to have a hefty down payment on a brand new. I'm looking to buy a new Toyota. My question is, the sales process. Do I haggle if I want to haggle or talk about price and that sort of thing? Do I talk to the salesman or do I talk to the finance manager about those kind of things?
Well, you're always better if you want to haggle, which if I were you, I wouldn't want to. There are better ways to buy a new Toyota or any other kind of car. Are you familiar with a company called TrueCar, Truecar?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Go online and check the TrueCar approved Toyota dealers in your area in Missouri. And you could probably find a couple, and it'd be over a wider spread of geography, but find the first one, be the nearest one to where you live. And you can go online and they will give you, you're gonna have to give them your contact information. You can make it up if you want to, as long as you have an email address that will reach you. And they will give you that car dealer, that Toyota dealer's price, including any extra fees or extra accessories. So that will be his best price. And then you can take that price to another Toyota dealer and say, if you'll beat this price, I'll buy it from you. It gives you a starting point to at least get a reasonable price. It's not necessarily the lowest price you're ever going to get, but you can use it to get an even lower price. My second question is, do you have a Costco warehouse anywhere near you?
No, sir, I don't. Not that I know of.
Okay, we don't have to have a Costco if you want to join it. Because I just mentioned that because the Costco auto buying program is an excellent one. They will give you Toyota approved dealer, Costco certified approved dealer, and the location. You have to go into the dealership, unfortunately, and you ask to see the Costco price sheet, and they will give you a very good price. So that's TrueCar and Costco are, to me, much better alternatives than going in there and haggling. But if you want to haggle, I would haggle with the sales manager directly. And if you're going to haggle, you also have to go to at least 3 dealerships. That's a lot of work because you're going to use a lot of shoe leather and gasoline driving around, but it'll take you longer. But always get at least 3 competitive prices. And if you can haggle with the sales manager, do that.
Okay. Another question I have real quick is if you don't buy all their like their extended warranties and stuff like that, are they less likely to work with you on the price? Or
I wouldn't let them know that. I would get my best price before I even talked about it. In fact, I would even lead a car dealer to believe that I was going to finance with him. And the car dealers today make more money by far financing the car than they do selling the car. Latest report came out, AutoNation, the largest retailer of cars in the United States, just came out. They're publicly traded, so their numbers and their accounting is all public. They're making, I can give you an exact number, in the last quarter, they made on the average, $2,154 on every new car and used car they sold, average. And that's not just the ones they finance, that's every one. Sometimes they didn't finance a car. So that would mean that the average on the cars they finance, they're making probably $3,000 or $4,000 on those cars. Whereas when they sell the car, they only make about $500. So you want to be, you want to keep it a secret that you're going to not finance with them. And you definitely shouldn't finance with them, by the way. But if they think they're going to have a shot at you to make a big fat profit in the finance department, they're likely to be more lenient with you in the price that you pay up front. So you'd get a lower price by them thinking you're going to get financed it. And then you could say, surprise, 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 I'm going to use my credit union or my bank.
Right. Okay. Well, what I was talking about was their like the extended warranties and that sort of thing. If you don't buy that, they still have to treat you like a customer if you have problems with your car and all that.
Oh, sure, yeah. It goes with the same theory of financing, selling the extended service contract. If they think they can sell you one, they're likely to be a little easier on you in the price during the negotiation. And then you can, after that, if you decide you're not going to buy the extended warranty, then you just say, I changed my mind, I don't want to buy one.
Yeah. And just stand firm on that.
Yeah,
and you've got the out-the-door price then, and there's nothing they can.
Nothing they can do. They're not going to lose a sale because you changed your mind about the warranty. They won't do that.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you. You all have become an addiction every Saturday morning for me. I'm sitting out here at the park. Y'all ever make it up to Missouri?
No, but I think Nancy has a daughter out there, don't you?
Yeah, she stays out there from time to time.
Yeah. So consider being a vigilante for us out there, Paul. I mean, you can check it out on earlsvigilantes.com. We're looking for representatives around the country. We don't have a vigilante in Missouri yet, and we're trying to get all 50 states, and that way you can consult with people that are having difficulty in dealing with dealers, and you can contact me directly or Stu or Nancy or Rick and get some answers and help your fellow Missourians out when they're buying or maintaining a car.
That's right. Yeah. Show me.
I might
Show
do
me
that
state.
after I figure out how to do that myself. But I appreciate. I'm pretty dumb when it comes to stuff like that.
Well,
but anyway, I appreciate all that you do for us, and I enjoy listening to y'all every Saturday morning.
Thank you, Paul. Stay safe.
Thank you. You sound like an auto expert.
Well, I'm not. That's the big lie going into all this, and it scares me to death.
We'll get you there. Just keep listening.
Well, you continue to listen, And we appreciate your call. Stay in touch. Let us know how your how the transaction went. We know that you are the show me state. Thank you.
Yes. One more question I have for you, real quick.
Sure.
Is it a good idea to go in with your credit score so they don't have to look it up? They can maybe do a deal based off what you looked up yourself. So is that a good idea?
Yes, absolutely. Go in there. Do not let them run your credit until you're comfortable with everything. But if you can get your credit score from a service and you let them, hey, listen, I know my score is blank. Work up your deal based on that.
Okay. And if my wife is going to be a co-signer, or her name is going to be on the title too, she probably needs to have her credit score as well, right?
That'd give them a better picture. You can still get a working deal to see where you are. If you guys have good credit, you can say assume excellent credit or assume a certain score, and just have them give you a hypothetical.
But Paul, just remember, your bank, and if you're a member of a credit union, will give you a lower rate, unless you're buying a manufacturer's subsidized interest rate. Toyota and Honda and all the manufacturers now incentivize lower interest rates. Those are legitimate. You could get 1% or 0%. That's legitimate. But if it's not a manufacturer's initiated special low interest rate, you're going to do better at your credit union or your bank.
Okay. All right. I think that answers all my questions, and I'll be calling you back. You kind of hard to get a hold of, but I kept persisting.
Thanks, Paul. I appreciate your persistence.
Again, yes, thank you.
And Paul,
let you
if you can't remember all the information that we gave you, our show is recorded, so you can take a look at www.youtube.com, Earl on Cars. Jot down all that information. That'll really help you. But please give us a call back and let us know how your transaction went.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Now back to Stu.
All righty. This is really interesting. Everett texted us, said, good morning, still love your show. I heard on a radio news report something about Florida, in the state of Florida, a recall incentive for recalled Honda Takata airbag automobiles. And he wants to know, will this incentive be extended to Toyota and other makes? I hadn't heard of that, so I Googled it. And last month, it was actually Ashley Moody announced this, our Florida Attorney General. And it appears it's only for Honda. So there's about 52,000 Floridians available. And if you've had your Takata airbag replaced on your Honda vehicle, you can get reimbursed or get an incentive, a debit card worth anywhere between $50 to $150. And it can be activated once the airbags are replaced. So this is an incentive to get people. You get the card and it gets activated once you get the airbags replaced.
Now that is
Great.
amazing.
Yeah.
We should have known that, but that is great information. And
Honda or Acura, which are the same, but
yeah. It's in a way it's kind of a sad statement that you have to pay somebody $25
to save their life.
But if it works, and I salute Honda for that. I wish all the manufacturers would do that. The strange thing, I think it's going to work. We have
we have an example in our dealership with COVID testing.
Yeah.
Interested. Excuse me, Stu, we're going to go to Delray Beach where Scott is holding. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning.
Welcome.
I was coming home from work this morning, and I heard a part of your show about the paint issue, and I wanted to call and tell you that I have a 2013 Kia that had surface rust on the just above the windshield of the front of the vehicle. And it's interesting that I took it to my local Kia dealer that we purchased from in Delray, and they basically said, good luck.
I
know. They weren't going to help. I then took it to a bunch of different shops around here, and nobody wanted to even touch it. I finally found a shop that gave me a fairly decent price, and I had to sign a paperwork that said that I understand that the windshield could break when they pull it out, and I'd have to pay for that. I understood that there was no warranty or guarantee on the work. And then I heard you guys saying that maybe you could contact Kia directly on something like that. Now, I apologize because I didn't hear the entire discussion this morning. I was just curious if this was something that you all have dealt with.
God, surface rust isn't what we were talking about. Surface rust on a 2013 vehicle, I'm afraid they'd be after you on environmental issues with the paint was worn thin. The rust warranty on a car is only on rust that comes underneath the paint. If the rust comes from the outside, surface rust as you described it, then it's not really...
Usually the warranty covers perforation, so if it goes through actually starts eating into the metal and it perforates, that's when it kicks in.
Yeah. So you'd have an uphill battle on that, and we were talking about something called a delamination, which is actually a defect of the paint, and the paint, it looks fine on the outside, or it can look fine, but it will peel off eventually.
Starts to bubble.
Right, because it's coming from underneath. Understood. I was actually pretty lucky. I found a local collision shop that did the work. They didn't break the glass, and it was surface rust, so it didn't go down into the channel of the glass or anything. So we were actually very lucky. But I did want to touch base with you. Thank you for that information. And thank you all for your show. I enjoy listening each morning on my Saturday morning on my way home from work. And please, everyone, stay safe. Wear your masks.
You too, Scott. Good idea.
Thank you so much, Scott. We enjoyed your call.
All right.
Keep listening.
Bye-bye.
I think we're going to run back to Stu.
Yes, we are. Okay. We have a text from, let's see here, from Bob. He wants to know, how often should you change your oil if you drive a car less than 1,000 miles per year?
Well, Rick could do that because that's a very misunderstood issue, isn't it?
Most manufacturers still recommend every 6 months, or actually, I beg your pardon, every 6 months for tire rotations, but it's about once a year now on synthetic oil. And if you're really not driving much, the tire rotation doesn't become that big of an issue, but the oil change still should be done about once a year because the contaminants and moisture in the air can begin to collect inside the engine, and the oil is what cleans all that out and helps get it out of the engine. So it's still a good idea to do it once a year.
And it's an especially good idea when the car's under warranty because you're supposed to maintain your car by the owner's manual recommendation, and that is exactly what the recommendation is. Time and mileage, it's either or. So if you're a low mileage driver, you still have to use the time guideline, and as Rick just said, for synthetic oil, it's 1 year. Even if you put 25 miles on the car and it sat there for a whole year, you're still supposed to change your oil once a year because of the humidity and the the contaminants in the atmosphere.
Yep.
And oil degrades for a lot of reasons, not just from driving.
And it's also a good idea to bring it in, let a qualified mechanic look over it, make sure you don't have any other issues coming up.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, here's another one. This is from Shannon B. in West Palm Beach. She says, I'm planning to purchase a full-size truck before the end of the year. I have narrowed my choice to the Ford F-150 and the Chevrolet Silverado 1500. What's your opinion of these trucks? Please help me make my choice. And that's from Shannon.
I'll give a shoot from the hip. I'll say the Ford. The Ford is, I think, pretty much considered the standard in the industry, one of the best trucks, and Chevrolet comes in second. Consumer Reports would, I checked with Consumer Reports, but I think they would confirm that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Shannon, I believe it was last month's Consumer Report. That's a great way to go. Great suggestion from Earl, and that will give you all the information that you need. So go to Consumer Reports.
Okie doke.
Excuse me, Stu. Yeah. We're going to go to Frank in Jupiter Farms. Good morning. How are you, Frank?
Well, good morning, Earl, Nancy, and the rest of the gang. As always, it's a good day, especially when you see another sunrise.
Yes. 2 in a row.
Yeah, a couple of quick questions. In regards to my girlfriend's Amory 2008 Lexus RX 350. On the top of your head, do you know how many quarts of oil that takes for an oil change?
What was the year? What was the car again? One more time.
2008 Lexus RX 350.
Should hold about 5.5 on the 350 because it's a 3.5 liter engine.
Okay, very close. Here's the other question. We went in for a place, and we unfortunately didn't take it to your dealership this time. We tried something a little closer. They did an oil change, and they rotated the tires. Since we, and then they charged us for an extra quart of oil for $12 because they said it totaled 6 quarts, which I thought was unusual. But anyway, since we got the tires rotated, it has a pretty heavy pull to the right. And let me add a little something else before that. When we had to left the car there, one of the guys called and said, "Oh, we did a battery check. Your battery needs to be replaced. It's going to be $150." And I said, "No, that's okay. We got a battery." And so anyway, they were really disgruntled when we picked up the car and did not have pay for a battery. So since we picked up the car and now it pulls to the right, I'm just curious if we bring it into you guys, this week and get the alignment checked and done, of course. Can you tell if anything has been kind of fooled around with, making it what it pull, or is it just possibly by rotating the tires could have caused that?
It's the tire rotation. 99.9% of the time, a tire pull is caused by what's called tire conicity or rolling resistance. And the first thing that we're going to do is take it for a drive to verify, swap those 2 front tires left to right, drive it again, and odds are it's going to be fine.
Wow. Okay. But talk about that we can always learn something new every day, and you just proved that point for Frank Nash. Thank you. Okay.
You're very welcome.
Let's see. I'll let you guys get back to the other customers. As always, we totally enjoy your show.
Thank you, Frank.
We enjoy you, Frank. Thanks for the call. Good luck.
I think Rick's got a YouTube he's been sitting on for a while over here.
Yeah, I got a kind of interesting one. Naked One says, "Hello, Earl. What do you think of the high horsepower cars and trucks? Like 1,000 horsepower, 700 Ram TRX. Do you think there will be a government limit at some point as to how powerful they can make these different cars and trucks, the muscle cars like the Challengers and that, and these heavy trucks that are hugely overpowered?"
They've been talking about that for as long as I've been a car dealer, and there seems to be an appetite for horsepower. I think it's largely with men with too high testosterone. I'm not sure what it is.
That's an interesting way to put it.
It existed with me when I was 18 years old, and now that I'm 80, I don't want the 1,000 horsepower car anymore. So maybe there's some sort of correlation, but no, I think because the men make the laws, they'll probably consider 1,000 horsepower cars really cool. I read about it, and I look at the Wall Street Journal, New York Times. Every time they come up with a huge high horsepower SUV, truck, sports car, the more horsepower, the better. And even now, here we are in the age of electric cars, and everybody's really excited because you can go 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds. Now, why the hell would anybody want to go 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds?
It feels good.
Yeah.
I like the way you referred to that. You defined testosterone.
Yeah.
I think you've been hanging with me too long.
Yeah. Anyway.
Is that Megan?
I drive a fast one, and I got
Good for you, Megan. That's a great question.
No, when I was younger, I really enjoyed it.
Oh, no, wait a minute. What about that Tesla we were in?
Yeah, well, I got to admit, I got a little temptation.
You loved it.
Still a little fire in the furnace.
You're scared. You're just scared.
Yeah.
I saw those horns coming out, and you were behind the wheel.
I think Nancy threatened you if you got a Tesla. That's what I think.
Yeah. It's kind of like...
I think you threatened him if you bought a Tesla. Because your life would be in danger.
It's like when I go
I'm a
out
seasoned
and
driver with him.
I order the great big steak.
Passenger.
I order the steak, but I just can't eat it. I mean, it's just... the idea of a 500 horsepower Hummer, my mind says, that's cool, and then my brain says, that's really stupid. And so my brain wins the arguments now.
Now here you are taking
good.
charge of a 2-ton.
That's the goal. That's the goal in growing up. Have your brain start winning. That's
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Megan. We loved hearing from you. I hope we answered your question.
We have some anonymous feedback we can get to. First one I got here says, what is the invoice price on a $40,000 RAV4 hybrid? Is this a good starting point for negotiation? The supply seems to be low here in Denver. Any idea what the reason might be at this time? Thank you. I can address it.
Please do.
Well, first to answer your question, invoice price on a $40,000 RAV4 hybrid is, oh gosh, I just had it up there right this second. It's about, oh gosh, I lost my place. It's about $38,000. But at invoice, there's also about $2,000 worth of holdback in there. It is not a high supply vehicle. It's more available than some, like, let's say like a Highlander hybrid. But, you know, we stock out of, say, 40, 50 RAV4s in stock, about 10 to 14 hybrids. And we are actually, you know, currently at our dealership where we're selling for about 700 over invoice right now. But I would recommend skipping the whole negotiation game, whether you're in Denver or anywhere in the country. Try TrueCar and do what we say on the show every week. Just try and compare several different dealers, and then give the shot to the guy that gives you the lowest price.
And just so the new listeners, we've said this before, invoice is the worst source of information to make a buying decision.
Yeah.
Invoice sounds like the cost of the car. It sounds like it may be at least near the cost of the car. The fact of the matter is, on average, more cars are sold below invoice than are sold over invoice. When a dealer gets an invoice from the manufacturer for the car that you bought when he got that invoice, he got kicked back thousands of dollars after the fact. And the kickback is profit. Mm-hmm. They call that cost an invoice. It's a lie. Invoices are a lie. They do not show the cost of the car. If you have to use a measuring stick, get the MSRP. It's the same, and then you get the maximum discount from that MSRP with 3 different dealers. Buy it from the dealer that gives you the best discount off of the same MSRP. But don't play with the invoice. It's too tricky.
It is. It's a shell game. If you look at a Toyota invoice, for example, it'll show you the MSRP and then the cost. And the dealer actually does pay the manufacturer that whole amount of the invoice. But then down below in a small paragraph, it will list the holdback. And that holdback, for example, on the RAV4 hybrid that we're talking about, adds up to about $2,000. And that is given back to the dealer at the end of the month or during the month.
And it's not just holdback. It's things like advertising subsidies, floor plan assistance. And then, you know, there's a multitude of ways the manufacturers can secretly, and that's what it is, secretly give the money back to the dealer, leaving them, the customer, to think that invoice really has got something to do with what he paid for the car.
Yep. Next one, anonymous feedback. When you're haggling with a salesman, is it necessary to give them a down payment of anything to proceed to the next step? And I think what they're referring to are these deposits. Unfortunately, and we have a small version of this in our mystery shopping report, it's used to, and I don't know why, I was trained this way a long time ago by Earl, to get a commitment. If somebody makes an offer, somebody says, well, I'll pay you $20,000 for this car, and they go, all right, can you give me a deposit to take to my manager to show them that you're seriously making a commitment to buy?
You know, back in the day, I'll tell you how crazy it was. 40 years ago, you always had to get a commitment. So the sales manager, they call him a closer. They sit in this little glassed-in office, and then you send the troops out to argue with the customer, and he comes back with an offer from the customer, because now we're haggling. He comes back from the offer. He says, did you get a deposit? He says he didn't bring his checkbook. Well, did he have any cash? No. I said, go get his watch. I'm serious. I mean, the sales manager would not talk with a customer unless they had made that commitment.
Right. And if you said, if he brings me a Casio, you're fired. Just kidding.
But yeah, it's a commitment. It's the way it used to be done, and it's the way it's still being done at some dealerships.
If they ask you to do that, I'll use Earl's advice, leave.
And if you ever do give anybody a deposit for any reason, be sure that you verify it's refundable. In the state of Florida, for example, you should get a receipt, and the receipt either says it's refundable or it's not refundable. If it doesn't say it's refundable, technically the dealer doesn't have to give you the deposit back.
Great how things have changed for the better. We are going to take a quick call from Fort Pierce, and that's David who's calling. Good morning, David.
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you're loud and clear.
Very good. Hey, is Earl, are you servicing guy there, is he familiar with Jeep Grand Cherokees?
Enough to stay away from them. Sorry.
Well, okay. That's not what I wanted to hear, but that's okay. I have a question for you.
Sure.
I ran out of gas in mine one day, and I was stuck in the middle of a busy intersection. And the first thing I did was put it back in park, got out, raised the hood in the name of safety, and called somebody to come give me some gas. Well, in the meantime, some people came by and they were going to push me out of the way to a safer spot. Well, it would not go into neutral for me to push it.
Huh.
And I've gone to the dealer, and they don't seem to have a solution for me. And I'm very frustrated. I've been trying to get a hold of Jeep, but it's like trying to get a hold of the Wizard of Oz, it seems like.
Oh, boy.
Nobody seems to have a solution as to what to do if you want to move your vehicle. I asked them, I said, what if I had a faulty gas gauge and I was unaware that I was running out of fuel when I ran out?
Right.
And I'm going down the road. I said, what would you do to move the car? Because you can't move it in park.
Now, what year's your Wrangler? Or, I beg you, Grand Cherokee?
Cherokee?
It's a 2018, and it's got 19,000 miles on it.
And it would not let you get it into neutral.
It will not go into neutral. And the funny part about it is, I went back to the dealer, and they didn't even want to walk outside and look at it. They just told me they'd check into it.
Oh, my.
Oh, no. Somebody should have come out and looked at that vehicle.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
Well, try this. I believe that used to be, it's probably still a Regal Chrysler Jeep Dodge, but it was bought by a man named Larry Morgan, and his son, Brent Morgan, is the CEO of the Morgan Auto Group.
Right.
And you tell him that Earl Stewart told you to call Brent Morgan about the problem, and if you can help him out, he won't call Brent Morgan, but just use that name. Sometimes you just have to get the attention of someone, and the new owner of that dealership is Larry Morgan and Brett Morgan, the Morgan Auto Group. And you just tell them Earl Stewart's going to call the father or the son and complain about your issue if they don't take care of you.
Well, the thing about it is, I went up and talked to one of the salespeople.
Yeah.
And we went to one on the showroom floor, 2020.
Uh-huh.
I said, see if you can get it in neutral without starting it. It wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering how do you get it in neutral if you're in a situation like that?
I don't believe that should be the case, and I think you need to get a technical expert. They should have said this. They should have had a technical person come down from wherever their office is and look at it. Now, I think Rick's Googling and probably Stu's Googling, and we're going to see if we can find anything on chat rooms or Google about Jeep Cherokees not being able to go into out of neutral or into neutral when they're out of gas. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, I was curious if Toyota had any setup like that in any of their vehicles.
No.
That you may be familiar with.
Never heard of it.
Well, the closest we have to that would be the Prius, where it's an electronic transmission with an electric park feature that if the battery were to die completely on the car, the 12-volt battery where you couldn't start the car, you cannot put it into neutral. You have to have battery power, but even on the Jeep, if your battery is strong, there's no reason why that car should not be able to be put into neutral.
Yeah. I think you're getting some bad information, and you need to talk to somebody that knows. And one way to get their attention is say you're going to call the boss.
Well, I've contacted Jeep customer service, and I've gotten no response from them whatsoever.
Shocking.
All they wanted to do was I don't even want to get into that. They were useless. Let me put it that way.
We'll call back next week, and we're going to do some research, and we'll hear if you had any luck, and if not, maybe we'll have some research and help you out.
Well, I did just find about a 30 to 40 second video on YouTube that shows how to put it into neutral.
Are you starring in the video?
Nope,
Oh.
not me. But it shows, I'm just watching it here now, and it shows the guy, basically he's pulling up the little leather boot around the shifter and then hitting the button inside the override button with a pocket screwdriver. So all you need is just a very tiny screwdriver.
We're going to have to move along the mystery shopping report, but I'll tell you what, if you'll give us your email address, we'll send you that link that Rick just found. And just send it to 772-497-6530. That's 772-497-6530. And but we're going to have to move along now to the mystery shopping report. Thanks very much for that call.
Thanks, David. And if you,
No problem.
if you want to re-watch our recorded stream, you can go to www.youtube.com. Earl on Cars.
Okay,
Thank you
Mr.
so
Shopping
much.
Report. Roger Dean Chevrolet. Now, who wouldn't want to save $10,000? I've got a little picture here of the ad that we responded to. And $10,000 off, on any kind of car sounds pretty cool. We do this looking for big discounts. On this show, we've discussed it many times. In fact, we've even seen bigger discounts than that. By the way, the reason for the Monroney label is to measure discounts. If you have that as a point of reference, you can choose the best deal if you shop at least 3 dealerships. We've investigated about every kind of car dealer bait and switch ad, and we usually know what the catch is before going in when we send our shopper. Typically, the really big discount makes a vague promise like up to $9,000 off new 2020 models. The operative term, of course, is up to, kind of like virtually. But the full $9,000 discount can only be applied to the most expensive vehicle in stock, typically a truck, SUV. Land Cruiser for Toyota has a huge margin, and they'll sometimes hide that in the fine print, that the $10,000 discount is only available on one Land Cruiser, which maybe doesn't exist. What makes this week's investigation interesting is that the really big discount that Roger Dean Chevrolet and West Palm Beach is offering is quite specific. $10,000 off MSRP on a new 2020 Chevy Trax, T-R-A-X, a small SUV. They even provide details in the ad. The MSRP is $22,295, and the sale price is $12,295, practically half off. And earlier in the show,
Roger Dean likes that whole half off thing.
Yeah, maybe it was Ghost. Maybe that was Roger's Ghost.
Right.
Decided to do this, and it is kind of humorous that I talked earlier in the show. I can't do it again. We don't have time, but there was a big sale by Roger Dean, and he did 50% off, and it was a riot at the West Palm Beach Auditorium. Moving right along, there was some fine print that was very difficult to read. It looked like it indicated something about dealer retaining rebates, additional fee, stock number, but we couldn't be sure. Let me tell you something. When we can't read the fine print,
yeah,
you're talking fine
I am
print.
getting older. I mean, a few years ago, I could read it all, but it's
Well, I couldn't read it, and I had my magnifying glass out. We last shopped Roger Dean Chevrolet in the pre-COVID era, way back in February. Oh God!
It didn't seem like a decade ago.
It does seem like 10 years ago. Then,
that's a decade.
then as now, they were advertising a really big discount. I mean, really big, $17,000 off. And of course, the catch was on one vehicle, the Silverado. Trucks had huge markups. The catch was pretty straightforward. When our shopper tried to buy the truck, Roger Dean just inflated the list price by arbitrarily adding $11,000 to the MSRP. So discounts mean nothing, and if you don't adhere to MSRP, manufacturer's suggested retail price, you just add an addendum label. How much, on $1 million discount? Okay, slap the addendum label on there, I'm marking it up, market value.
But there wasn't even an addendum on this
Yeah,
one. They just made the price on the buyer's order $11,000 higher.
Yeah.
And then gave them a discount.
Exactly. So we sent in Agent Lightning, our female agent, undercover shopper, to investigate this week's ad. Here's the report. I arrived right when Roger Dean's sales department was opening for business. Folded printout of the ad for $10,000 of a new Trax in my hand. I approached 3 salesmen sitting around a desk, only one of whom was wearing a mask. Shameful, truly.
Oh boy.
The mask wearer stood up to greet me. His name was Andrew, and he asked why I'd come in.
It's a good thing that guy stood up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're going to sit around in a group, a huddle, one with a mask, because he's going to talk to the customer. Now, the two that have COVID are talking to him.
Right.
That makes no sense. I showed him the ad and said, I want to buy this car. Immediately, as if on cue, all 3 said, it's sold. Mm-hmm. It was like unbelievable. It was just like they were trained, and they all said simultaneously. I
Like
said,
a
you're
group
kidding.
of parrots.
Yeah, exactly. I said, you're kidding, and asked if they had any more. Andrew acknowledged they had another new Trax, but said that would be about $4,000 more. Now, old school, folks, you're going to be hearing a lot of this term. This is old school. More than the one in the ad. He explained that the ad car was a 400-day-old unit, been in stock over a year, and they sold it 2 days ago. You have to take their word for that, right? By the way, the Federal Trade Commission says when you advertise a car, this is a Federal Trade Commission, when you advertise anything, whether it's toothpaste, cars, TV sets, you have to have a reasonable amount of the product available.
At that
Now,
price.
they don't tell you what reasonable is, but I can tell you one thing. One ain't reasonable. Okay?
Great point.
So I said, you're kidding, and asked if they have well, they could do it. Andrew offered to show me what they had, led me out back. I complained along the way that their ad was a trick to get a person to come in. Andrew disputed that characterization and told me this dealership was as transparent as they come.
Yeah, I can see right through you.
Well, they used to be as transparent as they come, but because all dealers did business that way, Roger Dean Chevrolet is standing out now because most dealers don't do that now. They do a lot of other bad stuff, but this is old school. Andrew sought to reassure me by promising that he was going to take care of me and get me the best possible price. Then he brought up the ad again. He said that the car was still listed. Listen to this. You're not going to believe this. The car was still listed. They're still advertising it because it takes about 4 days after a car is sold before it comes off the website. That ain't true.
No.
The reason for the delay explained...
He keeps on going deeper, doesn't he?
Yeah. The reason for the delay explained was the time needed for processing of bank paperwork. I mean, that's just stupid. And so here we have, there's one thing about a lie, and there's something else about a dumb lie. If you're going to lie, be clever about it. Who would believe either of those statements? So here we go. Digging deeper, I advised Andrew that I expected him to give me a price close to the ad price. Andrew was direct. He said he'd been there long enough to know that this was not going to happen. He said the 400-day-old car was costing him money and had to be sold. It was a special case. Well, I'll tell you what, they could have sold it anytime they wanted to. They didn't have to run an advertisement with no disclosure or transparency. If you want to sell a car at half price, you sell it. But don't advertise it and imply that there are other cars at the same price, which was exactly what they did. It's clearly deliberate, premeditated misrepresentation. So we found a 2020 Chevy Trax, a white LS model with an MSRP of $23.90. Andrew left me to wait by the vehicle while he went inside to get the keys. We took it for a test drive. Andrew told me a story about how he wound up selling cars in South Florida, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to stick to business. I asked him how many days his Trax had been in stock. He said he had no idea, and he'd check. Back at the dealership, we entered an office, sat down. Andrew took my license and entered things into his computer. He asked me a series of questions. Was I a Costco member? And this confused me. Maybe Stu can
I have no idea.
Neither. He said, am I a Costco member? And had I been a Costco member for longer than 2 months? Neither one of us have any idea why.
There's no requirement that I know of.
No, you can join Costco today and get an auto discount tomorrow. We don't know why I asked that question.
Maybe it's a special thing with Chevy. It could be. Who knows?
I don't know. What vehicle did I currently drive? You want to know? Will I be trading it in? What did I plan to purchase? I answered his questions, left to speak to, and he left to speak to his manager. The manager was at a desk, not wearing a mask. Andrew appeared to converse with the manager, who was typing away on a keyboard as he spoke for about 8 minutes. Came back to ask me if I had leased a vehicle in the household, and I said no, and I asked why. And Andrew said there was an incentive available if I did have a leased vehicle in the household, in other words, a Chevrolet. He returned to his manager's desk. This time he was away for 15 minutes. It looked like he was waiting for his turn to speak with the manager. When Andrew returned, he had a sheet of paper, handwritten figures on it. He said that this particular tracks had a remote start, so it'd be a little bit more, he thought. I said I wanted to see something official, like a printed document. I said I had a bad taste in my mouth from the ad, and now this is starting to feel sketchy. Andrew said he will get me something printed, but he needed to know, listen to this, but he needed to know if I would give them my business if the price was right. So, the old conditional. You want a good price? Are you gonna buy the car? Are you gonna give me your business? I mean, no sense in me giving you my real price if you're not gonna buy it. I'm not gonna give you my price unless you buy the. I mean, that's just so ridiculously old school. I said I would, and then he asked me to sign the handwritten paper commitment. Give me your watch, your earrings. You're the female shopper. I want your earrings. Apparently, it's some indication of commitment. I signed it. Okay. Andrew left for 10 minutes. And 8 and 8:16 and 10. We've had 26 minutes of exchange between Andrew and his manager. He came back with a printed worksheet titled Purchase Agreement, which it really wasn't a purchase agreement. It was a worksheet, and it was no legal. Or maybe there would be. They call it a purchase agreement. I think that's sloppy on Roger Dean Chevrolet's part. The top line was MSRP, $23,090. The selling price was $20,594. A hefty $804 in government fees. That sounds like a lot of money for tax and tag.
Yeah, well, that didn't include tax. So I guarantee that's electronic processing, filing fee, tag agency is lumped in there.
And
they're not government fees.
And they called it government fees. Was added to that. Then came a $995 processing dock fee. After sales tax was added and a $4,250 rebate was subtracted, the out-the-door price was $19,053. Then I looked at the worksheet or the sales thing, and they had another fee. That was the, as you said, what do they have?
Well, you have the worksheet, and then there's the TrueCar one below there.
Yeah. And they had, Anyway, sneaky all the way along. I told Andrew he was enclosed. I asked him how he could expect me to be okay with a price that was $8,000 higher than the ad for the same car. I know the car was older, but come on. Twice the discount. Makes no sense. He returned to his explanation of the 400-day-old car and how that was a unique situation. He said the ad should have come down, but it was the back office handled it that way, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, think about this. You have two identical cars, okay? I think he said had the remote start, but two identical cars.
That only adds $395, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're identical.
So you have one because it was older, they discounted an extra $4,000, and but they're going to sell the same car to you for $4,000 more. I mean, it boggles the mind. Epilogue: from the obnoxiously obvious bait and switch ad to the chicken scratch customer commitment form, this was plain old school. We checked it to TrueCar to see what a good price was. Should be on this model and receive an offer from Roger Dean Chevrolet. Roger Dean Chevrolet turned out to be the TrueCar dealer. The Roger Dean TrueCar price was within a few dollars of the price given Agent Lightning. So it was what they wanted to sell the car for a price. The bulk of the discount, both the TrueCar and the in-store prices, came from a Chevrolet customer rebate.
Yeah, so I just wanted to point out with that, because it wasn't like Agent Lightning was given this great deal, there's a pretty good rebate on it.
Yeah.
And it's a low price car, so there's not as much markup as you normally see.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's the reason if you have a true car price, we say it's good in the sense there's no hidden fees, there's no added accessories, but it gives you a base for comparison for shopping with other dealers. Don't use a true car price as the price you're going to write the check out for. Use it to start your negotiation and go to at least 2 other dealers. But TrueCar is a good benchmark. You got a benchmark. Otherwise, you're flopping around. You don't know what's a good price.
Yeah, get you in the neighborhood. We have grades coming in. I will start with Linda, who was listening earlier, and she says lies, lies, and more lies. Big, huge F from Linda. And then also Jonathan Wellington says F, they're lying crooks, shut them down. That's very impassioned grading. Mark gives them an F, says deception. Anne-Marie says only one person wearing a mask, lying, bait and switch, leaves customers sitting there, handwritten agreement, fees, etc. It's all old school rudeness. I'll give them an old school grade, F.
Okay, Rick?
Let's see. I've got Tim Gilliland, no mask, I'm out the door, F. Donovan, they clearly get an F here. And Karen, this one is easy, a big fat F.
Definitely a big F. Big
And
FF.
From myself,
FFF.
it's just F, because I mean, I
I'm going to give him a B. I'm just kidding.
What type of B?
A B for
Really?
big F. I'm going to fail him too. I'm going with the flow.
Yeah, it's been a
Peer
while
pressure.
since we've given out an F.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been on a pretty good streak. We've had,
Yeah.
two good ones.
Extreme swing between last week and this week. It
Oh,
couldn't be any more
absolutely.
different.
Very extreme. Very extreme. I got to tell you that, ladies and gentlemen, this is the reason that, I just mentioned or when we began the show that there's still these people out there, dinosaurs, these dealerships that are just unbelievably old school.
And if you want to buy a Chevrolet, you go to Schumacher Chevrolet, right?
Yeah, they're on the list, the good list.
Okay, we're good to go?
No, you're great.
What?
Your grade.
Oh,
my grade. I got a grade.
You got to grade them.
F. I mean,
But
Thanks,
you are
Jonathan.
great though.
Yeah.
You're great, but we need your grade.
Yeah, we got to fail somebody that premeditatedly lies to a customer. I mean, it's just unacceptable. I mean, it's not a curve. Even we're at the point now where we don't see anything this bad normally.
And I've got Mark Ryan and Wayne Vate coming in both with Fs.
Yeah. We got about 3 minutes. Just quickly, and I alluded to this earlier, just a heads up out there. Car dealers are focusing on finance and insurance income. They're making about $2,000 on every car they sell, whether they finance on the average. So some of them they don't finance. That means on every car they finance, they're probably making $3,000. And I'm using round numbers here. So remember, the pressure's on the car profits up front, and online buying is helping that phenomenon. So buy a car, you buy it online, you use a true car for a benchmark, you can get a good price on that car. But don't throw all that away and go into the finance department and get slam dunked with a $3,000 or $4,000 profit. So use your bank, use your credit union, and you're home free.
Stay away from the box.
Stay away from the box if you can, unless you have a manufacturer's incentivized interest rate.
You have to outfox the box.
Yep.
Outfox the box. I like that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We certainly enjoy your company, and we will see you next week. Stay safe. Have a wonderful weekend, and go Steelers.